this stuff ain't real, no. I'm cruising forward beneath the Hollywood sign. I'm gonna meet my personal journal to stay so cut so tight. Every time you call, I'm gonna make you gold. I'm gonna make you gold. Every time you call, I'm gonna make you gold. Oh no. When I want to be always need you. Feel it burn in my body. And all I wanna do, is command it with some jelly. I'm a vegan hot dog on the way to Jupiter. I'm a Christmas tree driven.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's a good one, folks. Oh, it's a good day. Obviously, I am talking about Chris Licht being fired as the head of CNN. No, I'm kidding. I'm talking about Trump. Ooh. Oh, the DOJ's coming for him. Jack Smith's coming for him. You know, Merrick Garland, I have disagreed with just about everything he's done. But I gotta tell you, he selected Jack Smith and he told him what to do. And for Jack Smith to have worked with the efficiency he has, picking up wherever it was Garland left off. Whatever he said was correct. I'm just so happy. We're gonna get into it. Of course, the big news is it looks like proper indictments are coming for Trump. Not on little wrist slap things. Not in civil cases. No. Proper criminal charges. Federal criminal charges. Woo! I needed this. Not gonna lie. It was a pretty bleak couple of days. It bummed me out massively because we haven't solved the fundamental cause of those problems, the race massacres. Kids being murdered because we haven't solved the fundamental cause of those problems. Republican voters choosing to value guns more than children's lives. It was really a bummer. But then the news hit. By the way, I heard it first from Wicked Foxy Dragon. Thank you. Then from Ben Mycelis. And my man Ari also did a piece on it. Oh, it's just a good one. Dino, howdy. Good to see you. Wicked Foxy Dragon, hello. Wireless Mike, hello. Oh, I'm fired up. Tell you what. Let's jump right into it. Ooh, man. I'm going to be insufferable for about a month. It's the news we've all been waiting for. There's a gentleman by the name of Donald John Trump who who did a whole lot of crimes pretty publicly. And, people have been curious. When is the United States going to get around to attending to that? Because Merrick Garland sat on his hands for about 2 years. And then he handed off the investigation after Trump was allowed to announce that he's running for president again. Merrick Garland handed off that investigation to a gentleman by the name of Jack Smith. And let me tell you, Jack Smith...
That's my boy! Yeah!
Yes, indeed. Hey, here's Ari Melber with an update on Jack Smith's work.
Is the Department of Justice targeting Donald Trump for indictment, which would be the first federal indictment of any former president? Well, there is new reporting on that score today that Donald Trump is a target in the documents case at DOJ. Now, more than one reporter or outlet has discussed this possibility. The Guardian reports, according to two sources, that, quote, federal prosecutors have formally informed Trump's lawyers last week that he is a target of the criminal investigation, specifically in the documents probe. Now, what is Donald Trump's response to this? That is something obviously worth including. And Donald Trump was speaking to New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman about this question. And as I mentioned, that more than one reporter has sort of raised this or sourced it. And she posted today, quote, when I asked if he had been told he's a target, he demurred, saying he doesn't talk directly to prosecutors. As noted, that's not a full denial. Now, the Guardian story is making major waves tonight, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, and as I reiterate now, MSNBC and NBC News have not confirmed that the DOJ has instructed Trump's lawyers that he's a target.
Real quick, though, before I know, Ari's being coy. Ari's being responsible. That's neat. Just going to pop over to Truth Social real quick. Here's famous liar Donald Trump. No one has told me I'm being indicted and I shouldn't be. This is all one sentence. That I shouldn't be because I've done nothing wrong. But I have assumed for years that I am a target of the weaponized DOJ and FBI, starting with the Russia hoax, the no collusion Mueller report, impeachment hoax, number 1, impeachment capitalized for some reason, hoax, number 2, the perfect Ukraine phone call, and various other scams and witch hunts. A travesty of justice and election interference at a level never seen before. Republicans in Congress must make this their number 1 issue. Told you. He's freaking out on social media about something. Well, let's see what else Ari has to say.
Now bring in the journalist who did break this story, Hugo Lowell, the political investigations reporter,
who has James Bond tied up in his basement. I don't know why Hugo Lowell always looks like a villainous guy. For the record, this guy has been an absolute star this year. I don't know what kind of journalist awards he qualifies for, but he ought to get them. Because he's been killing it.
For The Guardian, who's also live outside that very courthouse in Miami. Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First, what exactly does your reporting show?
Yeah, so we learned this afternoon that Trump's lawyers were told last week by letter from the Justice Department that the special counsel's office considered Trump a target in the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation. And this was not something that the lawyers had previously been told about. And it seems that this letter, in part, was the reason why Trump's lawyers did request a meeting with the Justice Department and actually met with the special counsel and what we understand to be a senior career official in the Deputy Attorney General's office this week.
Have you had portions of that letter read or shared with you?
So we've had a readout. We've had a summary of that letter. I think, as you can imagine, I don't think Trump and his lawyers are particularly keen to share it. It's been a very close call. And I think part of the reason why we're so confident in the designation being applied to Trump is because, from what we understand, several of Trump's top lawyers and senior advisors had a long conversation this afternoon about how to manage the fallout of this letter. And they were trying to minimize how many reporters were going to do a story on it. And Trump himself was really not keen for this to be reported out. And I think when we learned that, we were pretty confident that Trump has been designated a target.
Real quick. Genuinely here. Here's what the what you can do about this is going to be. And think about if you've got any real young people in your life, if you got any kids or nieces or nephews or grandkids, young folks that don't, they're like, I'm talking, they don't really know how the world works yet. They're still learning. Consider them and write down your observations about this moment in your life. I'm not saying your observations about them in this moment in your life. I'm saying one day they're going to ask you what all this was like. This is a moment where what America will be is set. This is where America is choosing a path. It's where a bunch of people who feel like the two of those guys look are piecing together that we have not been holding some of the most dangerous people in existence accountable. So, it looks like, and baby, we're playing the whole clip. But I want to pause it here. Consider it symbolic of taking a pause in your own life and writing down your thoughts, your feelings, your observations, the general vibe. I want to pause it here to make it crystal clear that if you feel like, why is this news? If you if you feel like this wouldn't be news with anybody who doesn't have more than $1 million in the bank, you're right. Wouldn't be. But there was a real chance that the U.S. government, like it has always done with its most powerful people, there was always a chance that they would try to give Trump a pass, either literally or functionally, to the point where they would charge him or they'd get ready to charge him. But they would say something like, it'll only be after we conclude the trials of these other people. Because, and here's the obscure legal thing that I'm going to reference to use as an excuse. Oh, he got reelected president because he said that he was being unfairly treated by the FBI, and enough people believed that. Oh, he just pardoned himself and everybody else. There was a chance of that. Not no more.
When you say you're confident, of course, we respect and understand confidentiality of sources and the careful way that The Guardian and you have reported and quoted this. We have on the screen, Guardian, Trump lawyers told he's a, quote, target in special counsel probe. Within and with respect for that, is there anything else, Hugo, you can tell us, share with our audience about why you're confident? For example, if you have two sources who have no regular contact with the investigation, right, or the defense side or DOJ, generally a journalist would feel less confident about going on a big story than folks who are closer to it. So with respect, is there anything more you can share with us there?
Yeah, look, the lawyers that we spoke to and the people that we spoke to who are in Trump world kind of alluded to the letter early in the day. And then when we tried to run it down, we were informed by a very, very senior advisor to Trump on the campaign side that the letter was genuine. And then we were also advised by a second source who straddles the campaign and the legal team in some sense that the letter was genuine. And when we put to them that we would be reporting this story, they did not wave us off. And then subsequently, we were also able to get more confirmation that the letter was genuine. And I think, when you think about the proximity of the sourcing.
Let me just jump in. I'm only going to slow you down and say that's really helpful. I appreciate that context. So, Hugo, is it fair to say that at the time of press and over the ensuing hours tonight, the Guardian's position is that the people you've spoken to on behalf of Trump are not denying it? They're not disputing your report?
No one has disputed our report, and we've run it by several people in Trump's orbit. And I think I should kind of add that Trump world's thinking about the documents case has shifted in the last 24 hours. I think there was a lot of confusion, just like everyone else, why there was now a grand jury in Florida taking evidence in this case. And that mindset has now shifted to, we believe that an indictment is likely to come out of the Southern District of Florida, and that potentially maybe even Trump is the target in Florida.
Oh, it's beautiful. Okay. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. My only suggestion for what you can do about this really, he is criminal, actually. Yeah. This, I was going to say, really suspicious fella. No, he's been proven to be a criminal. He did a sexual assault, according to a jury. Admittedly, not a criminal jury. It was a civil jury, but still. And he's under indictment for a bunch of other stuff. This guy is going to face the music. With Trump, we never have to really worry about what's going to happen once it gets into a court. Because look at him. Listen to him. He is exactly what he looks like. So my suggestion for what you can do is to take note of how you're thinking and feeling and what the world is like now. Because in a few days, it's going to be different. Very different. In a few days, it is going to be the beginning of the world, the young people in your life. No. It's going to be the beginning of a new world that is hopefully better. And they're going to ask you about how it came to be. And they're going to ask you about what these days you're living in right now were like. And I think you're going to appreciate if you have an answer ready for them. I think we're on the eve of victory, folks. Oh, let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Sean Smith, hey, chat. This channel recently popped up for me. Can I ask on the political spectrum, where on the political spectrum this channel is? From anarcho-syndicalist fascist. I would say that I am slightly left of the most left person ever created, having been a formerly self-professed centrist. But this channel is, and I'd say this is a pretty left crowd. I think that's fair to say. But this channel is not supposed to be specifically left. Not because I don't. I think not because I think there's anything wrong with that. Just because I think there's more value in debate. So we really do, genuinely do here, welcome all ideas. And in fact, on Friday, we have a specific type of show that we do. It's called Friday Peace Talks. And that is where we ask folks to bring in their own clips and offer their own opinions on it, and we discuss the clips. I give my take, and obviously it's a very leftist take. I wear that on my sleeve, so you know where I'm coming from. But my opinions change often, and they always change in the face of evidence if the evidence does not confirm my pre-existing beliefs. So this is a pro-evidence channel, and we err on the side of kindness when we can. I mean, sometimes your old pal Jake gets that dog in him, but you know, we are all but human. I like your rendition of TT, Jake, says Dino. Thank you. I was trying to work on it. I had been doing a not very good impression. And I used to pride myself. I could do every president until Trump. There were so many other folks doing it back in the day. The anti-corporatist. We vary between social democrat and communist. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. Anti-corporatist driving as always. He's a working man. Sean Smith responding to that. LOL. Okay, so basically the difference between what is possible to what we want as an end game. That's really well put. I'm a lefty, by the way. If knowing what a narco-syndicalist is wasn't enough of a tell. Yes, exactly. Oh, God. I am all for the Adam Conover philosophy not to get caught up on labels, but as an in-group conversation is when it is useful to parse. Yeah, totally agreed. We get the occasional troll. We try to be kind to them, by the way. Hi. Dictated, not read. I love that we're back to that. Everybody's got their own personal secretary on the phone. That's cool as hell. Yeah. I think that's a really good way to put it. And regarding the trolls, it's true we do get them sometimes. I gotta say, I love them. I intentionally try to attract them once in a while. I'll put out something that's like, it's got a title. I don't like to mislead with titles or use inflammatory language with titles unless it's very clearly me being a sarcastic little jerk like with this one. But the reason is because reaching out to these folks is going to be a useful skill to develop, particularly as we are entering into the age of Trump on trial. Being able to have conversations with these folks better than we have in the past is going to be insanely useful. So anytime we get a right-wing troll, yeah, we act way nicer than is perhaps deserved a lot of the time. But it's strategic. And also, if somebody's genuinely, I do respect if somebody is listening to a channel they disagree with. JFJ Live, hello. Good to see you. In celebration mode, yes, indeed. If somebody is got the balls, the chutzpah, to be hanging out in a political channel they disagree with, that I think is worthy of respect and should be encouraged. JFJ Live, celebrating justice. Yes, indeed. Wicked Foxy Dragon. It depends on if the troll is rude. That too. Too. We act in good faith as much as possible, or entirely in good faith, to set the tone, certainly for others. And it's in the hopes. That we can, even if we can't sway these people in the chat, you might have somebody that you come across who you can sway. And if you're used to talking with Tucker Carlson fans, you're definitely going to be able to get that person who's on the fence. It's a rare one, but hey, we got a decent sized, in my opinion, subscriber count and growing. And one of you is going to come across somebody who can be converted. And that'll be good. Oh, folks. Oh. Here's the thing, though. It's not just Trump. Not just Trump. 1 second while I load this here up. Same show. Different punk talked about. Let me set this up. And then we're going to record it. Oh, but that dead air, huh? Hey, there we go. Well, it's even better. So let's count them off today. All right, let's keep track. So far, we got Chris Licht over at CNN. He's outskis. We got Tucker Carlson. We already knew about this, but he was over at Fox. He's outskis. We got Donald Trump and Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows, folks, he took a plea deal. Ooh, it seems that he has taken a plea deal. Oh. But there's even more. There's somebody else. Somebody who you could argue made Trump possible. And his ass is back in court. It would seem. Let's have a gander.
ABC News is reporting that Jack Smith has now subpoenaed Steve Bannon. Now, that subpoena first came out apparently in late May. This news is breaking tonight, and it's for the Washington, D.C. grand jury. And if you're keeping track, Mr. Bannon was not working in the White House or involved in classified documents in any way at the end of Donald Trump's tenure. He had long since left the White House. His activities that are under scrutiny relate to what he seemed to know and what he talked publicly about in advance of January 6th, the wild day that was coming. Indeed, in some of our legal breakdowns, we've shown how central Steve Bannon proved to be in what turned out to be more than a rally, but an insurrection. And now we know.
In case y'all don't remember, this guy, this American citizen, was literally talking to the Chinese, which members of the country of China, I don't recall, powerful ones. I'm sure it'll floor me when I am reminded of the details. The point being, he was talking to people not from our country about something that's a massive security threat that was going to happen in our country, United States. I say our, meaning Bannon's and a significant chunk of the audience. But if you're not from here, it ain't because these folks were specifically Chinese that I think that's galling about. It's that the dude seemed to know that something was going to happen. And he seemed to be using that to make deals. He talked about it on his podcast. So before January 6th, he alluded to on his podcast. So the idea that he has been allowed to get away with it has been galling. And by the way, no matter what is said in here, short of Steve Bannon had an active hostage in his home, nothing makes the fact that he has been a free man all this time acceptable. If we are not able to investigate and handle a coup in 2 years, we need to change fundamentally the way we do things. We need to be able to handle this for the next time it happens. One of the main priorities of 2025, assuming we have a successful 2024, where we take back control of the country, complete control, House, Senate, White House, and then we learn our lessons from 2020, and we lean on all of our representatives hard. Assuming that happens, and it's doable. Assuming that happens, one of our main priorities needs to be making sure bags of garbage like that over there, the one holding the mic, not the one panting into it, they can't do a coup and get a pass for 2 years. But that said, doesn't look like it's going to be 3.
With all of this heat rising, Mr. Bannon, who up until this point had been pursued by the January 6th committee, had even fought them so far that he ended up indicted on those other issues, on the issues of defiance. Well, now he's being subpoenaed by Jack Smith to really talk. That is more than one piece of breaking news, and I want to bring in our experts, former civil prosecutor from SDNY, Maya Wiley, who now runs the Leadership Council on Civil and Human Rights, and former federal criminal prosecutor John Flannery. Welcome to you both. John, I want to be very clear about the boundaries of what we don't know. No one knows when and how Jack Smith is going to move. I've emphasized that. But even a very quiet, careful prosecutor like him cannot help but have certain things spill out when there's this much action. In other words, he doesn't control the highways. He doesn't control the public sidewalks where we've caught, where cameras have caught, witnesses coming in and out, lawyers coming in and out.
John Flannery communicating with that bow tie that he would have preferred to be a candy shop owner in the 1920s, but you make do with what you got.
And external subpoenas both in Florida and to Bannon. Is this getting hotter?
I think we're getting ready for ramming speed. I'm glad to see it after such a long period of time, but we've had breaks, or we should say that Jack Smith has made his own breaks and run down some alleyways and gotten some really good information. I suppose the latest big piece is that the information that Trump had appears to have been used in a compromised way involving the national defense. And I know that hasn't been confirmed yet, that that's the prosecution, the espionage prosecution, with a 10-year penalty if it is. But that's pretty important. And when you knit it together, you have Trump. Well, we know he took documents. We know he has them. He has a mind meld that he thinks says he can change them from classified to unclassified. He skated past the subpoena, and then they had a search warrant to find documents that hadn't been produced. The proposed espionage charge is not tied to classified documents. It's any document at all. So the exposure is terrific. And I have a feeling that when we say Bannon is going to be called before the grand jury, maybe they're giving everybody a last run to think again whether they want to talk and cooperate with the prosecution, or as we prosecutors used to say, you're either on the bus or you're under it.
Yeah, you just laid it all out. I mean, on the Bannon piece, he was already under the bus for defying the Jan 6 committee, Maya. He has other legal problems. And yet, as John
Get on the bus. I love it.
reminds us, going in to talk to Jack Smith.
Jess Rush, hello. Rustbox, hello. Trump is not indicted yet, but boy, I think this, right, Chow, is indictment eve. I'm putting down my marker officially. I think it's tomorrow. I'm gonna try to sleep tonight, but it's like Christmas. I can't. Ooh, man. But this right here is Bannon, the Metallo to Trump's Cobra commander.
Criminal context is even more severe than the conviction that Bannon was hit with for defying Congress. What do you see here, Maya?
Well, I agree with John. I mean, let me just say, first of all, without regard to whatever they want Bannon for or don't want him for, I think they have had, frankly, one of the best witnesses and evidence providers they could have had in Donald Trump himself, who has said over and over and over again in public, including just last week in a Fox News town hall. He said it on CNN. He said it in Iowa. He kept the documents. He thinks he could keep the documents. The archives itself turned over 16 records that showed that he understood, as well as his top advisors, how to declassify documents. And to John's point, if it's an espionage charge, doesn't matter if he did or didn't. It's completely irrelevant. The question is, did he retain them? Did he transmit them? Did he refuse to give them back? If he did any of those things, they impact the national defense. Doesn't even matter whether it was classified or not. So it just bypasses that whole question. And that's why you have Donald Trump's own allies, his former attorneys from Ty Cobb to the protect him at almost any cost, Bill Barr, saying he's in trouble, because it doesn't take much to look at just the public record here and say he's in trouble.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Oh, you just love to hear it. Hank Hill has been the temporary mascot this week. Normally, that position is filled by a good girl named Zoe. But I think I need it one more time. Jack Smith.
That's my boy. Yeah.
Get him. Look, it's the same what you can do. Write down what you're thinking and feeling right now, because this is history, and the young ones in your life, if you got any at all, or if some come along eventually, they're gonna ask you about this. We are on the eve of a new America, one that actually holds criminal leaders to account. It's one we should have entered into in the 1970s. And our failure to mature as a country has hurt us badly. But better late than never. And those who end up being taught about these moments in high school, they're going to ask you, what was it like? They're going to look across the dinner table one day, and they're going to ask you what you were thinking, what you were feeling, what did your friends and neighbors think? And frankly, we're going to be looking back and actually measuring. Like when we talk about the gerrymandering, those little ones are going to have a more accurate view of the percentage of us that were supporting this nonsense than we have. Because I'll tell you, we'll see a news piece about this, and we'll hear about the one side, and then we'll hear about another side, and we'll assume they're equal, but they're not. The gerrymandering that exists makes it seem like there are more Republicans than there are. There are a lot of Republicans. But first of all, they're not all crazy. There genuinely are some Republicans who believe in the lies they have been told the party exists for, that believe in a brutally unregulated market and all that stuff. And the only Republican that has won the popular vote in the last 20 years did so because they were a wartime president and they were still benefiting off of a lie they told. These things will change because they must. We've put it off as long as we can. And the great fear was that we were going to get someone like Trump, someone who just decided it was time to stop pretending and be out of the closet with their fascism. So you will be asked about these moments. Good chance, very good chance, that the little ones won't even know who Steve Bannon was. Tell them. Tell them what you thought of the American Goebbels. And tell them how it felt when you heard that that legal ass whipping he'd been asking for was finally given to him. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Wireless mic, it's about damn time. I just hope they follow through. Yeah, me too. I think most likely he's going to get a very light sentence in exchange for turning on the Führer. Jess Rush, my grandson will learn about this in school. Trump Gate has begun. Yes. Yes, it has. Oh, Jess Rush says, I hope it's tomorrow. Please let it be tomorrow. I think it will be. I think it will be. Normally, what the Department of Justice tries to do is release this stuff late on a Friday because the news that they want the masses to hear, or they need to inform the masses of, they want to downplay it as much as possible. They want you more concerned with, the barbecue that you're going to go to. But now, they did good. And so I'm not basing this off of knowledge of law or anything. I'm just basing this off of often doing shameful things and knowing what it feels like when you finally do something that's not shameful. You want to brag about it. The anti-corporatist, honestly, when it comes to Steve Bannon, I would prefer that he was under the bus. Same. Jess Rush, the Stephanie Miller and Malcolm Nance interview was a good one. Oh, I read that. Yeah, I do want to have a look at that. Oh, mercy me. Dino, don't forget about the Mar-a-Lago pool accidentally being drained into the basement. Yeah, that was a hell of a thing, huh? Funny how that just happened a couple of days before they were supposed to hand over tapes. Funny how same thing happened with Nixon. Nixon's dingbat secretary happened to delete those 18 minutes. Whoopsie daisy. Funny how the Secret Service happened to delete all of its texts from January 6th. Gosh. By the way, I don't think that's over with yet. It's just, it doesn't seem to happen when Democrats get in trouble. What happens when Democrats get in trouble is they come out in front of a podium with their spouse whose head is hung real low, and they do a forced apology that nobody believes, and rightly so, because they're truly sorry that they got caught doing whatever thing that they did. Then the party eats them alive, as they should, and you basically never see them again until they do the very same thing they did before. I'm thinking of Anthony Weiner and John Edwards and a bunch of scum that's been in the Democratic Party. Look, I've never made the argument that Democrats are good. They're just, they're nowhere near the kind of bad that Republicans are. Republicans, and I'm not saying this to be inflammatory. I am saying this because it is my honest assessment. And if you disagree, I would love to hear your take on this. Republicans are, and I'm talking about the politicians, the Republican Party, there we go, is a criminal organization. It is organized crime. I came to this conclusion when I realized, well, reading through the January 6th report, that that the Republican Party at the state level in 7 states was involved with election interference officially. And remember, they do so much projection. They can't help but tell on themselves. And it's not an accident. They've weaponized that. They use it to make it seem like the accusations that we are putting out or will put out are just part of politics. You know, people accuse each other of this or that. But in 7 states, including mine, goddammit, the Republican Party got involved. The structure of it. So it's a criminal organization. They had a consent decree that they had to sign that said they wouldn't have any poll watchers. Why? Because they were sending armed thugs to intimidate people at polls. They had been doing this for decades. They were still doing it in the 80s. It was going to be something that they had to hash out in court. That would have been political death at the time. Now it would be applauded. So they agreed that they would no longer do that. Got lifted in 2018. Maybe it was 2019. Point being, they're a criminal organization. Genuinely, truly. And I don't think they will be in existence in 2025. But we have to just whip them real good at the polls. We have, in the next election, we have to beat them so badly that they do not recover from it. And make sure that nobody forgets. Like, we rehabilitated George W. Bush publicly. And just now, heroes, frankly, like Mehdi Hassan are doing what is necessary to unhabilitate that guy. But we have to make sure, I just can't stress this enough, that people can't just go back to the way things were. We can't pretend like this was just a temporary madness that came over the Republican Party. All that happened was they got a guy in charge who didn't understand how to do anything subtly. He turned the faucet on too much. But, I mean, this is what they are. It's what they've always been. And let me show you why it is so important that these folks see consequences. Because today, Sam Seder played on his show an example of what happens when these folks think they're in the right. They define right and wrong by whether or not by the actual outcomes, by whether or not they get punished. They don't just they think that is what right and wrong means. Let me show you what happens when they are allowed to believe that that their wild leaders are in the right because they haven't been punished. The idea is that Republicans will not believe that Donald Trump did anything wrong. And I'm talking about Republican voters. They won't believe Donald Trump did anything wrong until it is declared in court and he is then punished for it. So it can't just be a judge's opinion. He's got to actually have bad things happen to him legally for the actions he's done. He's got to be imprisoned. If he is treated gently, the impression that Republicans are going to receive is that everything's fine. But you know what? Everything is very much not fine. These are, now I switch to talk about the politicians, these are stochastic terrorists. And they have been allowed to exist as an organization long enough that we now have active, organized terrorist groups in the United States. And they do things like Sam Cedar covered today on the second best show on the internet.
That should guide us.
You got to go with
a
a little bit more nuance with these things than what is the actual numbers.
It's deductive. You got to be deductive instead of trying to use inductive logic to figure this stuff out.
Now, if we're to impose that same we had a situation where this is Glendale, California, yeah? That
let's look at this footage.
There was a school board meeting. And there were anti-LGBT, really a bunch of Proud Boys, it looks like.
Activists. It's unclear to the extent how much of them are actually parents or parents of students.
Well, that's the thing, is that, in every quote that you hear from any of the things that are written about this, it's a parent at the school saying, I appreciate the school for being sensitive to LGBTQ members. And then there's someone, an activist, who's out there, and they got into a fight. Now, you would not measure who's right here by who gets beat up more, right? So,
real quick, remember what I said earlier in the stream. There are more decent people in the world than there are bigots. If you start to get really, really fired up in a moment, which I'll tell you I did, what did Sam Cedar just say? He was talking about the reports. This is a super common thing. What the parents are saying, the actual people with kids in the school, for sure, are saying, I appreciate that there's some LGBTQIA plus whatever the hell, kindness, some basic human decency to other human beings. And because of things like this, it's helpful to learn these things. And then an activist. But if you're a violent activist, as in somebody that tries to get your politics accomplished with violence, there's another word for that. That's called a terrorist. So, it's parents versus terrorists. And the parents are fighting for the right for people to exist. and the terrorists are not.
So here is a footage of a bunch of these Proud Boys going after the parents and supporters of the schools essentially being not hostile to LGBTQ folks.
Jesus.
This is, I think, this
like a
must
mosh
be
pit.
the yeah. And like they're beating on some moms in some instances. They sprayed pepper spray into a pastor's face.
Brown shirts.
Yeah, that's what's going on there.
And as you can see on some of their shirts, it says like "Leave our kids alone." Also, people like Andy No and like DC Drano and other.
As I recall, Al-Qaeda also hid behind children. We were wrong to invade Iraq, but doesn't mean that Al-Qaeda ended up being the good guys. It was a war of villains. They hid behind kids too, just like the Proud Boys. Moms for Liberty is no different. That particular organization. That is a tiny group of people. That's a group of I don't know. It's a very small group of people. I think there's only 11 people that are responsible for the vast majority of the book bans we're enduring right now. We need to not put up with this. If you are a school, I don't care if there is a law that says you have to get rid of books when some rando calls you and says it's got a black person, so it makes me feel uncomfortable, and now it's got to go. Your answer to that, I don't care if you lose your job. I don't care if you go to prison. It sucks, I know. It sucks. But your answer to that is no, sir, no, ma'am. You say no. If you're a doctor facing 30 years in prison because somebody comes to your state, to your hospital, for a medically necessary abortion that they could not get in their state, and that state calls you up and says, we need you to provide the records of your treatment of this individual. A trans person comes to your hospital and you provide them treatment, and you get called up by the state saying, we want to harass this trans person, provide us their records. You say no. You got to go to prison, then you go to prison. First, do no harm. You're a school, first priority, it's the children. It's the gay ones and the straight ones, and it is for both of their benefit that they must learn about the world. Without consequences, this gets worse. But don't let me bring the mood down too much. Because that footage was not from today that the majority report was playing. What was from today was the news that Donald Trump, the guy who has inspired so much of this evil, his ass is going to court over this. By all accounts, according to the Guardian reporting, according to his own guilty conscience, ranting on Truth Social, Steve Bannon, the architect his ass is going to court. Mark Meadows, a henchman, perhaps the henchman of January 6th, he's taken a plea deal. As in, he had a look at the evidence, and he decided Trump's not going to be able to get away with this. So I'm going to protect myself. The advantage that we have, and by we I mean decent human beings, the advantage we have is that we truly believe. And I hear all the time about MAGA true believers. I don't believe it. Haven't met one yet that I've been convinced by, that they truly believe. I've seen people that have faith in MAGA, but not belief. And whether or not I'm right about the followers, the fact is, I think we both know that Trump does not truly believe. To him, reality doesn't matter. To Steve Bannon, you think he really believes this stuff? Of course not. If he really believed it, why is he lying? The advantage we have is that we truly believe. And we are going to keep fighting for decency. We are not going to allow, there's no scenario where we'll say, well, I've had enough. I'm just not going to say that gay people are allowed to live anymore. No scenario where that happens. I've had enough. I'm not going to stick up for black folks anymore. No. If it comes down to it, decent people will go to the bitter end. And all of this is to ensure that we don't have to. We're winning. It's an ugly fight. No doubt about it. Shouldn't have been this close. It shouldn't even have been necessary in this century. But we are winning. I want to see what you guys have to say. Mars Falcon, good to see you, brother. Appeasing fascists is an interesting choice, dawned on me. Ooh, all right, let's jump up. Let's jump up to dawned on me. Oh, I missed it. All right. Mars Falcon, I'm getting a little worried that after 7 years of investigation with possible indictments, maybe someday on one guy with never-ending coverage, that my allies think justice is served if it happens. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a big proponent of insisting on state investigations at the regarding the lead up to January 6th, the fake electors cases. The reason being exactly what you've said right there. We cannot let it go at getting Donald Trump, just like we couldn't let it go at just getting his henchmen. Nope. New America. Everybody that broke the law is going to have to answer for it. It's just that simple. And I could absolutely see the federal government deciding we don't want to spend all these resources going after all these fake electors. Look, we did the important bits. We don't want to look like this is the... No. Your state attorney general will get everyone in your state that was involved if it is made clear that it's their responsibility. Because otherwise, some of those folks are going to turn up on the next ballot Some of them, by the way, have since been elected. They're controlling parts of our government, these traitors. So contact, if you live in one of the fake elector states, contact your attorney general. Tell them, I expect you to do a state-level investigation. By the way, a pardon does not apply there. So it's extra protection. It's extra insurance that these people get what's coming to them. Mars Falcon, brown shirts in the streets. Nothing being done to address it, but Trump may get fined for documents. No, not fined. Not fined. Arrested. Imprisoned. Sean Smith, we need coverage wall to wall on these brown shirts hitting moms. 100% agreed. Agreed. I will most likely do another story on it just for that reason. Chess Rush, can we put Steve Bannon back in that bubble thingy? Scott Ward, Trump will insist on fingerprint for voter ID. Yeah, he'll do everything he can he'll do everything he can to make it hard to vote. The Republican Party, the politicians, they don't care about truth, and they don't like a fair fight. They're not interested in genuinely participating in American democracy. Mars Falcon's earlier comment, it is the easy appeasing fascist is an interesting choice, he says to Dawned on Me. It is the easier path until the camps start accepting prisoners, and you have to wait to see if your group is on the list. Beautifully, beautifully done. Wayne Turnbow, hello. And Scott Ward, hello to you as well. Sorry you're coming in at the end there. Yeah. But I gotta tell you, I don't think I can end it better than Mars Falcon with what you just said about the camps. Yeah. It's easier to appease fascists until they come after you directly. That's it. You nailed it, man. But I'll tell you, Hank Hill might be able to. So one more time from good old Hank for Jack Smith.
That's my boy. Yeah.
Well done, brother. Go get him. This is WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. And I think tomorrow's the day. Oh, that's painful. There we go. And Dawned on Me. Yeah, I know. His lawyer says he didn't take any plea deals. I should say that for the record. His lawyer says he didn't take any plea deals. I don't believe him. There's just no way.